Alright, so I'm going to be doing a VOD review for Solitude. Um, this match is probably somewhere in Masters, mid-Masters, I guess-ish. And it's not entirely clear what rank the, what the player is. I think you said this is an alt in Masters. Which of course, depending, and I think you said your main's somewhere in Diamond or something like that. Obviously it depends on, like, if these characters are new to you or, like, how new the account is, because I think especially as of late, the past few seasons, the game has a tendency to put people too high on placements on new accounts, right? Especially because I think it only takes like 20 quick play games to get into placements, right? So you could get lucky and go like 19-1 or like 18-2 or better, and probably place GM even if you're not particularly good, right? I mean, you'll probably still be like a diamond player, but that's a little beside the point. My point is, like, if you haven't played very many games, it's not going to be like appropriately calibrated. I think you said this isn't a placement game, right? So there's a chance, you could be good enough to hang in these ranks, but there's also a chance that, like, if you just keep playing as much as you play on your main or played on your main, depending on the stats of that count or whatever, on the same characters you're used to playing, right, that you'll just fall back down to whatever rank you were on your main, right? So just something to keep in mind, right? Yeah. It says you're focusing on your mechanics and you're struggling with hit scan because you're aiming mechanics, and I can say, like, based on what I've seen, I don't think aim is holding you back, um, like, really at all. For reference, like, I think your aim is almost certainly better than mine. And granted, I haven't played comp in a while, but like back a few seasons ago, I rarely played hit scan and, like, kind of low mid masters level DPS. Um, yeah, my hit scan aim was definitely worse than yours, and I think higher ranks might be a little easier to achieve than they were then at that time, right? Um, yeah. Even back then, I don't think, like, they're necessarily holding me back all the time, but I'd frequently just, like, miss basically everything. But a lot of times you can circumvent that issue by having, like, better awareness and positioning than your opponents, right? Which is kind of what I banked on. But good news for you is, like, you don't necessarily have to do that. And I feel like your aim is good enough as of now, and that's, like, good for you, because aim is, like, not something, in my opinion, that's particularly easy to work on, right? It's not something you can just, like, say, I needed to focus on aim this match and just to actually, like, do better, because it's like it's just a almost purely physical thing. Like, I mean, if you had problems with the crosshair placement, I can note that or something along those lines, but, like, I don't see anything out of the ordinary, right? So, anyways, I think right now your big two problems are that your positioning is too close to your team, right? Unfortunately, on the second map, I didn't watch the entire thing, but I watched most of it. The second map of Lichang Tower, I think it's called Control Center. The Brawl map, yeah, like, hit scan, if it's not cast, is, like, really kind of hard to use, just because the map is so, like, congested, right? I'm sure you could see on your playthrough or whatever. It's quite awkward to play hit scan, especially, like, longer hit scan, right? Which means, like, not cast really on that map, just because the angles are so close, and, like, a lot of characters can easily get on you very easily, which otherwise would have to, like, take a lot of time or burn multiple cooldowns to get to you and contest you, right? So, but still, in general, I think you're stacking too close to your team, right? And this causes you to, like, take a lot of unnecessary damage and, like, not force angles, which is really what you want to do on hit scan, right? You want to have, like, an area of, like, control that the enemies can't cross safely, right, without being risking, like, getting one or two tapped, right? I don't know who is banned. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to see it in the replay viewer. And my advice to you on against this comp, especially on the control center, right, is just to play Cass. Just because he's way easier to. I think he's probably the easiest hit scan to play, because he's definitely a hit scan that gets a lot of value from just sitting main and it's, like, two tapping people, and he's also just easier to play on, like, more congested maps. Yeah, because he has like that higher burst and like slightly better, like I don't even know how to explain, like slightly more useful mobility against like divers, more like useful cooldowns against them in general, right? With the hinder, right? Yeah, he's just like more consistent with that, but I'm assuming he's banned because you're not playing him, and you're obviously not a one trick. So like, yeah. Um, and secondly, I think your uptime could use some work, right? There's a lot of opportunities for you to be like shooting the enemy team, but you're just not doing it as much as you could be, right? And I'll get into this exactly what I mean, but like part of this is a problem with your positioning, right? You're just kind of looking at walls a lot of times and waiting for people to re-peek. But really, what you should be doing, especially if they're not already weak, right? And like you're just banking on making a mistake and peeking for no reason, is looking for someone else to shoot and then just like or rotating away from your position to like get away from flankers and put yourself in position to shoot someone else, right? So you're kind of doing two things, right? You're like pushing yourself away from someone like a Reaper or a Genji and putting yourself in a position where you can actually actively contest people, right? And a lot of times you're not really getting a whole lot of value. Unfortunately, these 2 points kind of go hand in hand, but I hope it's like kind of clear that they're both problematic in different ways, right? So here, not knowing what they're running, you could roll out, for example. I don't think it's necessarily wrong to roll out here, right? But you could also default to coming over here, right? You do have slide to get here kind of quickly, right? And by the time you get here, you'll have slide back. Obviously, the obvious like drawback is that you can't really slide well in here. Coming up here is another alternative. And, like the only thing you're really scared about, like coming like top or this way, is if they just have like I don't know a ball, doom, or sombra or whatever that you just like can't like react to, or that is just gonna instantly speed on you because like you're um too far from your team and breaking LOS in the case of like coming up here. If you come down here, the benefit is that you're in LOS of your supports, but like you can't save yourself necessarily as easily with slide. But if you come up here, it's the reverse, right? But I'm sure you can see both of these options afford you much better angles, right? When you sit here, I'm sure you can see you control all of these angles here, right? And if you just move over here, you can contest this kind of like longer hallway here. Obviously, it's not great for you if they have like an actual flanker, like Sombra or Tracer, or even like Reaper or Genji, right? But here, right, if they're, I think that's a Reaper, right? If their Reaper tries to take cover from your team on this side of this thing, right, you can see everyone main cannot see him, right? But if you're over here, and this is why taking angles is everything, but especially hit scan is so important, he can't take cover where he is right now, and you also prevent him from like walking in any way that's blocked off from your team main. And if he decides to walk in a way that's blocked off from you, your team main can shoot him, right? That's really the fundamental why angles are so important, right? I don't think it's necessarily like terrible that you like default to coming this way, right? But the main problem is you just sit main, and at this point you should see like their entire team, right? You see like the healing stuff coming from their supports both here, right? I don't think you saw their Reaper. And another benefit of like not stacking with your team, if you were here to begin with, you'd see the Reapers hiding behind this thing early, and he wouldn't, like, you could say, oh, what if he just teleports up here and gets a jump on me? But, like, you'd be able to, like, catch him before he even does that to begin with, shoot him away, force out Wraith, or just, like, slide away to begin with, right? Because you see their comp right now. You can even probably slide in the open against their comp, honestly. But you'd have opportunities to get away, and he's still, like, teleporting in the middle of your entire team, right? Here, slight adjustment with your disruptor shot. You should probably be shooting it more so at this corner here. I don't think this is terrible here, but like you really want it in this area because like they're already through this choke point here, right? Like their Baptiste has no reason to walk forward, and just putting it a little further out gives it more value on the Genji, right? That's kind of like a small thing. I honestly thought it would be going a little bit further in the choke point, but yeah, I'm not really too familiar with exactly how far her disruptor shot goes. You see now, this is an opportunity for you to rotate left, right? Because the Reaper forces out, or his Wraith was forced out, right? So if he engages on you, he's just gonna die. And now you can set up an angle with like no fear, right? Because they don't have anything that can just instantly close the distance on you. through this like really open space, right? Like this is the strength of hitscan. You either force them to, you know, bot down main, take a ton of damage, and potentially get picked, or take like these really like long and like waste time on these flank routes to actually get you, in which case you can just like use your cooldowns and get away from them, right? So you're kind of losing a lot of opportunities by sitting with your team main, right? And I'll also note, by just sitting at this choke here, you're just eating random spam. Like this queen, yeah, she knifes you, but she's just aiming at this corner, most likely to just like spam you or your supports, right? Because everyone's there. And this is like the problem with Uptime. You see, you don't really do anything here this entire mid fight except tickle like the tank a bit, and sometimes you shoot their supports. And I'll mention you also like hit the Wu Yang, or the Wu Yang hit you with his orb. He's probably not aiming to you directly. He's just aiming at choke because like your entire team's stacked there, right? And just splitting from your team just even a little bit, creating that off angle would just force them to either purposely aim at you or just like ignore you, right? Here, it's a little unfortunate your entire team gets wiped, right? I think your Echo messes up her mechanics maybe, or just like gets a little overzealous chasing Reaper. But I'm sure you can imagine if you were just like positioned better and had better uptime as a result, literally by like stepping to your left like a few meters, your team wouldn't have been able in position to get run over like that to begin with, probably speaking, right? Here, once you cap, in this position, I think it's probably best, you know, especially this is Masters, right? Like, I think your team's gonna know not to just run in, you know, 1v5 or 4v5 or whatever. I think it's probably like slightly more optimal just to play point and stall as long as possible, right? It's probably going to be for an extra few percent, but in this position, it's probably in your best interest to do that regardless. But like, that's not that much, right? So. You're walking back to the team. I think it's okay in these positions. Now you know what their team is, right? They have a Reaper and Genji, and if either of them are hiding in a corner, that's like a big problem for you because they can both kill you before you can react, right? If their aim and like accuracy is good enough. So I think it's okay to default with your team, like scout where they are first, but then you kind of like do what you should have done now at the beginning, or what you should have done at the beginning of the game now, and it just happens to work. One, I mean, like, it's a good angle, right? You can see, right? No one's looking at you. You see, this is why off angling is so strong, right? But the risk of doing it now is that the Reaper could be hiding in this corner here, turn the corner, two-shot you, and you have like nowhere to go, right? Which is obviously the whole danger with it, right? What you should have done instead is peek main with your team, right? See where people are, and potentially, like, if you see all five are here, right, then you have an opportunity to walk back or shoot or like disruptor shot or something, right? Depending on their position, right? You can like split from your team, like, right, if they're giving you like the opportunity to actually walk, right? But I'm sure you can see like here it's kind of risky based on the team count, but regardless, right, they give you the opportunity, and like this is a really good angle, right? See, they just walk in the open, don't respect your angle while your team walks main, they just like get wiped, right? Yep. No, you can't. Probably couldn't have saved your Ana no matter what there, so whatever. One thing to consider in the future, again, right, is to set up top here. I don't think this is probably be a better position for like Ashe or Widow, just because your primary fire is kind of inconsistent, and you do have better mobility than they do. But it's something to consider in the future, just because you're harder to reach, right? Another alternative to consider is setting up like on this Mega, right? Because you have slightly better angles here, right? Like, or not directly in this Mega room, but like you can probably play this far up, right? And get a better angle into here, right? When they walk out, it's just slightly better. And you can easily just like slide in the Mega, run away, you know, just slide like to here, right? You have options. It's just slightly more optimal than sitting here, right? Because like the amount of time it takes for them to get to this corner is way lower than if you were like taking this wider angle like your Echo is, right? I'm taking a lot of time on this just because like, just to show you the prevalence of like how powerful, like, in like slight deviations in your angle can make a lot of difference, but like it's, right now it's not that much, right? This disruptor shot, I think, went a little too far, right? Again, this is where I thought it would be roughly going the first time. You see, they can just walk through it. It's not showing up where the whatever the outskirts of it are, but it's like right here, and they can easily just walk in this thing right here to ignore it. So just aim it more so at corners and like on choke points more so than you are now, right? Yeah, this is a big problem I was talking about with like the downtime, right? It's a positioning problem too, but you see like your guys fighting the Reaper on right side, right? And you saw their entire team was pushing you like through main, right? You literally just slid away from like watching them do that, right? And instead of just like playing across the map scared and like not peeking people, right? This is like the best opportunity for you to do something, right? Your tank's distracting the Reaper, right? So the Reaper can't rush you down currently, and you know the entire enemy team is walking through this open space. In the meantime, right? So they can't contest you because they're all pretty much close range characters, right? I mean, their supports have range, but they're not going to burst you down consistently from across the map, right? It's not like they have an Ashe or Widow to actively be able to like contest you. You're the most dangerous person compared to the rest of their teams at like long range, right? And like you're just kind of wasting all this time that they're rotating in, kind of like walking around and doing nothing, right? You see now, because you do that, right? The Wu Yang can walk up for free. The Genji walks up for free. The Reaper just walks on you, and you're like not in a great spot right now, right? Here, like this is obviously not like a great spot for you to ult, right? Because like you're not. They haven't used any cooldowns, right? When you ult, you want them to be in open space and like be down cooldowns the vast majority of the time, right? Because they can just get away really easily, right? At this position, the Genji had all of his cooldowns. The Reaper can just take a step to the left and be fine. The Genji, when it deflects over, is basically be behind cover, and like yeah. And you also slid away, so you can't actively chase these kills, right? Here, like don't get greedy. I guess before going any further, what you should have done earlier, like which is the big problem, when you saw your tank was fighting the Reaper, you either contest the Reaper with your tank, right? Because the Reaper is all alone, their team was all alone, or the team was 4-stacked like across the map, right? So contest the Reaper with your tank, or you just walk a bit forward, you know, rotate around point a little and see if you can get an angle on the people that are rotating, right? You know, something along these lines, right? But just standing here is obviously like in retrospect a pretty bad move. Here, don't get greedy. If they window, just don't even peek. You definitely could have died there. I'm sure you see in retrospect. Like, it's a wonder you did not die. Here, just get away, right? He's full HP. If he was weak in doing that, I'd just consider fighting him if you had rail, but you just didn't have rail, so no point in risk dying here. Yeah, not a big fan of this disruptor shot. You see, you're not putting in a choke point, so like, and like, there's nothing actively going on, so like it gets no value, right? Imagine here instead, if you put it in this doorway, you were a bit more patient, put it like in this doorway here, right, and just shot away the Genji, and you maybe could have revealed the Reaper based on the exact, you know, exactly where you position, right? If you position it here, you reveal the Reaper too, and shoot away the Genji, and this puts the Genji into like a situation where he has to decide to like full commit on you through the disruptor, right, or just back off the angle. And just lets you like take it, I guess, right? Or at least contest it. Be a bit more careful about taking flanks like that. This is kind of what I was alluding at earlier, right? When you don't know where they're set up, their team that or their team comp, especially their DPS, can just surprise you around a corner and insta kill you, right? This Genji actually could have chased you and killed you, just because he had deflect, right? And obviously, if he gets a kill, he gets this dash reflect. And he didn't even have to like dash into you to kill you there, right? Like if his aim was slightly better, if he just shot one more time, you would have died, right? That's why it's important not to waste your cooldowns before you like take these angles, right? I know you're like trying to get value out of like the stun from your ult, but like if you can't actively stun like a DPS, it's better for you to slide in, for example, to cover, right? Because you're going to be vulnerable afterwards if you're not like killing multiple people with the ult value, and just use the fact that you can't get pushed while the ult's active to your advantage, right? Like, yeah, you could say like, oh, I get this stun if I land on people, but it's also to turn for from people to rush you down, right? Because if they rush you down, like if they deflect on you, or sorry, if they dash on you, right? They get stunned and like they get killed really easily, right? And the thing is, when the ult's over, right now you're just in the middle, their entire team with half HP and like no way of getting out, right? You just die. Right? So just landing that cover would have been like significantly better, obviously.
Might have to adjust my approach.
That's wild the queen died there, but whatever. This is fine here, right? Nice shots. Like, this is what I mean, I don't really think your aim's the issue. Like, you're hitting vast majority of the stuff that you need to, so. Here, after you hit that dynamite, I'd be peeking, but I get you want to, like, cap out, but I just trust my other player to cap, right? Get the kill. Definitely not, like, the wrong move, but you could have done a little bit more there, right? Here again, you can open up the angle. You're playing kind of like really close for no reason. You can like play further out, right? Because it makes it harder for them to walk, right? Because they can't, like when you play here, you see the distance between like the horizontal distance between the doorway and like their cover where you can no longer see them is way smaller, right? You can't even like see where they're going to roll out from anyways unless you stand here, right? Which is obviously a troll. So you might as well open up the angle as much as possible to give yourself as much horizontal distance to shoot them as possible, right? You can play down here, right? You can play up here. It really doesn't matter. But like playing exactly where you are, if your tank's gonna hold close, isn't like ideal, right? Just for those reasons I mentioned. Right. Again, no reason to be like not peeking right now. This is the best opportunity for you to do something this hitscan, right? Right. You see, like this is really silly, right? I mean, granted, you're looking for point, but if you're just pre-aiming this like walkway as these people peek, right, you could have killed this Baptiste, right? And if you were further back or had a better angle to begin with, right, you wouldn't have been positioned for this Genji to dash on you, right? You're just kind of like splitting your attention because your positioning so awkward, right? And that's a good thing about playing further away, right? If you see someone's point back here, like, you know, you only have to move your mouse this much as opposed to like rotating 90 degrees, you rotate like, I don't know, 30. And like the Genji gets on you, you only have to rotate again like 30 degrees instead of like doing 180s and stuff, right? Yeah. I'm sure you can see like if you're like just paying attention to the choke and getting your value, playing a little further out, you could have like dynamited and headshot that Baptiste and you just would have died, right? Or you would have forced lamp and it's probably killed him afterwards because you would have been too far away from cover. I think you just end up dying here because your entire team's dead. Whatever. You have to touch, so whatever. Here, yeah, Ashe is just rough to play on this map. I think what I'd be doing is just defaulting here, right? You have the Mega to play around with. This is probably the longest angle for you on the entire map. And like the Genji and Reaper aren't going to default here because they're close range characters, right? Unfortunately, just playing top isn't like super great for you. And playing down here also isn't great because like your angle's barely any longer. And like you're still liable to getting rushed down, right? This is probably okay. It's definitely safer, right? But you see, like, playing up here isn't, like, super great, right? Like, there's just a lot of cover, and it's hard for you to, like, actually kill people before they get behind cover, right? I think this is okay, right? It's definitely worth mentioning that you could be coach jumping top because they've blown so many cooldowns at this point, right? Definitely a big uptime problem, right? I'll show you. Let me like show you this how this fight would look or what your like opportunities will look like if you're just sitting top, right? Like literally just AFK right here, right? So right now shooting the Queen, shooting the Genji, shooting the Reaper, right? If you move a little, you can shoot the Wu Yang, you can shoot the Bap, you can shoot the Reaper still, right? You could be saying like, okay, well they're gonna use their cooldowns to get to me. Well, that means they're not using their cooldowns to get to your team, right? They already blew some of their cooldowns, right? Like the Reaper teleported out. Like he can't make that full distance teleport without you seeing him, right? And you also have the Mega to play around with, and your coach going to be coming up soon, right? And the only reason I told you to go top there to begin with is because they're already low on cooldowns, because the fight was already like aggressive, right? So you can see here, like, this is why like playing Ashe here is not great. You just get dove if you play kind of close with your team. So I think you just have to take that risk to isolate yourself somewhat and play that mega and just play like your angles, right, to get as much value as you possibly can. Like, I'd be confident doing what you were doing on Ashe against this team comp if I were on cast with all my cooldowns, right? Because if I get surprised, I can flashbang and roll, or I can interplay however I feel like at that moment with the Genji and deflect, right? But like, I just have better options. Nice. Here, you probably should have tried a coach gun outside. Small error, right? I think you heard the Reaper teleport behind you. Honestly, it's just an awkward consequence of this map at some point, so. You're getting good value at that angle, so like that's why I'm not like gonna spend too much time. Unfortunate, if you hit that dynamite, you may have died. Obviously, like, I don't think Ashe is too bad once you're set up. The problem is, like, when you lose mid, it's just like really hard to set up against this team comp, right? Because the angle's all short, and they have 2 close range DPS, which is a problem, right? So it's hard to just like walk in and getting like without getting flanked, right? Here, if you can't see his head, don't bother shooting him, right? You just woke him up, he took 70 damage. Like, you did nothing. What you honestly could do, well, I don't know. This requires a lot of, like, trusting your team. What you could do is use the fact that he's sleeping, walk up, and try to keep shooting his back line, because he can't do anything for 5 seconds, right? Obviously, it takes a lot of trust from your team, right? But, like, you're not in a particularly great position. No clue why he's peeking in the window. Yeah, I mean, this is a consequence of like your character in this map. There's just too many like flank routes for them to take. I think you might have to just go on the outside of the map, right, and just force that like high angle, and just hope like no one's there to contest you. Or just be ready and expect someone to be like hiding. I should say, like, don't obviously just bot in without trying to like test mortars and such, but. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. This is fine. You can afford to probably be a bit more aggressive because they don't have their DPS right now. Yeah, this is a perfect opportunity for you to take top. You see you're walking down like, they're looking down main, but they're never going to go main, right? Based on their team comp, right? I guess their Genji just swapped, but they're just going to come up like this side almost every single time because their entire team comp is rush, right? If you're just positioned up here, you're just way safer, right? Especially they don't even have the Genji anymore, so you can't get dashed or whatever. And like even if they still have the Genji, like the space difference between where you're standing now and up here is just massive, right? And like your angles are just even better up here, right? You have more sight lines down the main, and you just have also better sight lines up top, right? And obviously you can just rotate around this thing a bit, right? I mean, I guess it's a little worse up top that way, because they can, in principle, take cover, but I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say here. Here, right, this is kind of, if you're just positioned better, I'm not really quite sure why you coach gun to begin with, right? Maybe you just couldn't see anything. But like, I'm sure you could see, if you're just literally sitting up high ground, that would have been so much better for you, right? You wouldn't have even been in this position to like get rushed down by the Reaper. And actually taking the duel with the soldier is like massively in your favor, right? The only way you can like 2-shot him, right? If you just double headshot him. The only like reasonable way he's gonna burst you down is if he hits like helix rockets on you, which is just not consistent across map, right? You have a lot of like time to react to him killing you, but he does not have a lot of time to react to you killing him, right? So that's like a favorable duel for you, and that's like something you should be looking for if he's peeking this angle here, right? Here, don't, I guess you're trying to stun the Reaper with the Bob. Yeah, it's probably the only way you live that. Realistically, I just would have accepted I was probably gonna die there, right? You just kind of messed up your coach gun, and your Bob is like no value here, right? Like, I understand the premise of it, but yeah. I think Hanzo can be okay. I think ideally, right, you've seen them walk up like this way every single time, right? So you probably want a Sonic, if you have the time to, up here. It's probably the best thing, or probably on this wall, right? Because if they come down here, they're giving you a lot of opportunities to shoot them, right, with your arrows. And if they come up here, they're not giving you as much opportunity, so you'd rather have I guess, the intel, right? Again, right, especially as Hanzo, because you don't even need to use cooldowns to take high ground. You might as well like default high ground every time, right? So you can see, because you're on point just over and over again, you have to like break LOS way sooner than if you're just playing like around here just from the get-go, right? Like, you're not gonna die up here against their team comp. You know, they don't have a sniper. If you're gonna play a sniper on this map, right, it's probably sick of hearing it, but you need to play your strengths a bit more. I mean, Hanzo's a little bit of a special case because you can kind of brawl. You know, you have like the lunge. It's not great, but the storm arrows makes you really hard to push for a lot of like close range DPS, right? As long as you have them available, and like the Sonic can make them like not so good flank you, right? And Reaper's also pretty easy to headshot, right? Like, he's probably the easiest DPS to headshot in my opinion. But you can see, because your positioning isn't great, you're constantly getting forced back this way. Where like, yeah, you're not dying, but the Reaper's like getting a lot of opportunities to either pick you or like zone you off, which is not fantastic. Probably small optimization, right? If you see your guys using ult, wait till it actually connects before you use storm arrows. I think it's okay to be peeking window now because you have a Sonic, you have the floor on it, and like you're constantly changing up like where you're peeking from. So here I would say again, right? If you're just positioned high ground, that fight would have been way better, right? You would have had better angles. You would have been more of a threat, right? And you'd be like not blocked off so commonly. I think it's okay, right? They have the touch point. Nice shot, right? Okay, good. Good shots, good mechanics. That fight. It's the end of this one. Here I probably wouldn't be sonicking point, right? It just doesn't do anything, needless to say. Small, you did it earlier. Small tip, just cancel Storm if you're yeah, if you already got value with it, right? You did half this guy's HP. So. Again, you're kind of stacking with your team too much. Imagine instead of like sitting on this angle, you see he's just taking cover by hiding here. Imagine if you just lunged over here and like play the mega and like play over here, right? Just play here, right? He's too far away, and I think he already used cooldowns too, right? I guess he probably just got him back. Like, you're just still hard to push as Hanzo alone, and you're just like kind of not doing anything right now, right? Just by playing this far point. Alternatively, right, you don't have to go that close. You could also come over here so you're safer, right? I just thought of that, right? I don't play Hanzo much, so like I don't like intuit all these things, but like, you can see just by like slightly spilling from your team, you just limit the cover people can take, and you can do more, right? Like, if you don't want to shoot the Reaper anymore, you can still like look down to shoot the tank or whatever. You can like, I don't know, rotate through here, play safer further back, right? Keep rotating out here, right? And like, not even like contest the range of their DPS, right? Whereas here, you're just kind of not doing anything, right? You're just like constantly circling around these close angles and like not getting value. Here, this is a really good opportunity. You see their tanks going in, which means their team's behind her, obviously. This is a really good opportunity just to like not look at the tank. Oops. Literally just stand out here, right? Especially if you lunge, you can't get booped off, and just try to like be as menacing as to the backline as possible, right? If you want to be safer, again, you can come here, right? And just be a problem and like threaten the one shot on the backline, right? You can definitely like farm the tank on Hanzo, but it would be slightly better if you just like instantly get a kill, right? So you can see right now, the problem is you're just not giving yourself LOS to like track that they're moving forward, and the fire just comes into you and like insta kills you, right? There's nothing you can do at this point, just because you weren't putting enough pressure on the team preceding this.
I am always ready to learn.
I feel like Echo's a pretty good swap in their team. They don't really have good tools to deal with it. One thing I'll say, in like neutral, don't spam stickies against Zarya, because what's gonna happen is by the time you get stickies in flight back, she's gonna have her bubble back, and if she's smart, right? I mean, like, I should say, by the time you have your cooldowns back and are actually in like an actual position to be able to do something, she's gonna have her bubble back, and you would have just given her like 45 charge or whatever. So, let's be a bit more principled in the future with that. You can afford to get a bit closer. If you have fly, you don't have to play so scared, right? And when I say that, you can keep rotating. For example, to this thing, right? You know, get a little closer when you play whatever Echo this far away. You're just not going to be consistently hitting stuff because you're a projectile character, right? Alternatively, right, you see your tanks fighting on point, you could rotate this way, right? You know, fly in the air this way, just do stuff here, right? Or just come all the way over here, right? Get an angle through here, right? You have better options than just kind of sitting and choke while your team's in. Good kill. Here, I get you're trying to use the wall, but you see no one's looking at you, right? Instead of using the wall, what if you just like flew straight into him, right? Obviously your mechanics need to be on point. Sticky him, beam him, and he's dead. If you want to be a little safer, you can like come through here, fly through here, set up through here, right? Like now you have a really easy access to their backline, right? Or alternatively, you can fly this kind of the middle road, fly into here, right? Now you have this angle, but you won't have fly if they decide to rush you. And but you still have the cover and like the good angle, right? And I think it's an okay position to do that because they're not even looking at you, right? So. Regardless, good kill on the Reaper. You know, put all good damage pressure on the Zarya. So this is a position, right, where you should be like constantly flying in the air to like scout them, right? Like the only way you die is if they swap to Widow and just like one shot you, which is like, let's be real, that's not gonna happen, right? And if you're just flying in the air to scout and like spam them when their tank's dead, like you're just farming a ton of ult charge, and you can actually see where they're rotating and like do what you want to do to like counter that, right? Like let's say the Reaper's coming this way, right? You can just sit in the air and like beam them, right? Or I mean shoot them, right? Not literally beam them necessarily. And if the soldier is like rotating this way, then you could have the info to just like, you know, take cover and fall to the ground, so he doesn't just beam you out of the or like shoot you out of the sky, right? But like you're just kind of playing floor echo when in reality, like pretty much all flying characters, right, just create an angle. Like they're good because they can immediately create an angle literally just by going high in the sky, right? You see here, you can see so much more than if you're just sitting down here, right? And like the soldier doesn't have the burst or like the damage to kill you, right? So like you're not really going to be threatened from doing this, right? Especially because he's realistically the only person that's going to be hitting you. So again, be careful against Zarya doing stuff like that. Kind of get stuck on the thing a bit here. I'm sure you can imagine, right? If you're just constantly in the air creating an angle, they can't just rush you like this, right? Now you're just playing on the back foot just you weren't doing enough early enough in the fight, right? Stop them from walking for it, right? Good kill on the soldier regardless. Here, this is kind of the same problem you had with Soj, right? I know, like you have a copy, so you can afford to go aggressively. But the thing is, you don't want to go in, copy, and instantly lose it because you're in the middle of 3 people, right? What you should be doing instead, right? If you see they're walking back, fly up like this, right? Fly up to like cut off their exit on like the Mega, for example, or something like that. Obviously more risky, or you can like continue going this way, right? And if you see someone isolated, then you go in, right? The problem is they have 2 supports with each other, so it's gonna be like really inconsistent to actually be able to burst someone down in the first place. And you see like you're just kind of instantly get forced out of copy and killed immediately afterwards. So like copy is an opportunity to go aggressively, but you need people to either be more isolated or land in a safer position, so like that doesn't happen, right? I'd ignore the Reaper, right? He sees wasting your time. Your time would be better suited if you just went to the right side, continued to hold off the Wu Yang and like the rest of the team, right? Because like this is a good thing. I don't know if you play tank, this is something you learn as tank. Just trying to do like the most optimal thing. Is just beneficial, right? I could either chase this Reaper across the map, or I could just sit choke and try to farm the team, right? Like obviously you have to give it up faster than the tank, and you have to play more passively, right? But you're also giving yourself a lot of opportunities. And this is a different way of like phrasing what I've said in the past, right? You're giving yourself more opportunities just to launch arrows down here and threaten one shots on people, right? And if you get low, you have a lot of cover options in this general area, right? So alternatively, in this position, right, you see they're on here, right? You see your hazard is on the right side. I think you might do it here. Just rotate, yeah, do it here, right? This is good. It should have just been a little faster, right? You see the guy, your hazard's right side, walk left a little earlier, right? We'll say you can go even deeper, right? You know their Reaper just respawned. You can, uh, you can come over here just because your angle is just a bit better on bridge, but at this position it's probably not the best idea. Just in the future, right? Because the angle is a bit better, right? You just obviously have to worry about getting rushed down through the house. Okay. So you can see, like, just playing at this angle here, like, people are just gonna randomly just walk main. I mean, I granted, it's like, they have no time, they have to run in. But just by doing this stuff, people are gonna get accidentally one shot by, accidentally, like, eat spam. That's kind of the mistake you were making at the very first fight in the game, if you recall. Okay, so I guess in closing, right, two big problems. One, set yourself up at off angles more frequently, specifically at off angles where you control wider, like longer range, like sight lines in the map, right? This hit scan. Especially as the characters you're playing, like Soj, Ashe, and Hanzo, right? Like Ashe in particular isn't too flexible. Hanzo and Sojourn have some flexibility because they have kind of, I wouldn't say great mobility, but they have more options close range than Ashe, and they have better burst as well, right? Um, but still you're generally looking for like areas where you excel but your opponents don't, right? And off angling, I'm sure you could see in like those fights that you just instantly won, right? Like especially on that first map where you just instantly kill like 3 of them, right? You catch people off guard, you don't take damage, and like you have a really easy time lining up shots, right? Literally everyone walked in your crosshair there just because you took the correct positioning, right? Secondly, get your damage uptime up, right? Like this is a consequence also of the first point, right? But there's a lot of time, I'm sure you can see in retrospect, where you're just kind of like doing nothing as the enemy team like rotates around. And in that position, you either need to like rotate, I guess, opposite of them, right? Like if they it obviously depends on their composition, right? But against their composition in particular, right? I'll give you a really fast example, right? If their team is rotating this way through here, you want to be rotating to the other, left, like, or, kind of like the opposite side. Like if they come right, you want to go left to keep your angle as long as possible for like long range as possible for as long as possible, so you can make your uptime as good as possible, right? Or you need to like rotate to a slightly different angle where you can still see people, right? And be more active in fights, right? I'm sure you can see a lot of these fights you're kind of doing nothing. Just because I don't know exactly what was going through your head. You're just like afraid of the people that could peek. But like a lot of these, I'm sure you can see in retrospect, a lot of those timings, like you weren't in any danger of dying because people were just too far away and preoccupied, right? So, just like shooting more, right? Which or like looking for position, like you're looking for timings to do more damage is gonna like help you a lot, right? Again, that like really falls into the first point, but that's probably the primary consequence I'm seeing of like the problems, right? Yeah. Anyways, I hope this helps, and if you have any further questions, feel free to ask.